How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Discovery with DC, where we work to share lessons learned and discoveries we made along the way. In today's episode number 7, we're going to talk about a strategy of assertiveness and how it can either make or break you as a leader.
One thing that I have learned and observed over the years is that how I show up and how you show up matters in determining the results that you get. Your assertiveness matters. So assertiveness is defined as having or showing a confident personality, or having a distinctive flavor or aroma, or confidently self-assured and positive. I oftentimes like to think about assertiveness in the context of handshakes. Think about what you would consider to be an ideal handshake. It's confident, firm, yet not overbearing, not too soft. So that's kind of what we're going for in assertiveness in all different ways, as far as how we communicate, how we show up to meetings, how we show up to deal with other people, any kinds of communication, body language, all the above. So your assertiveness is important, right? The Bible even tells us so. I'm reminded of in Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus tells the disciples that they are the salt of the earth. He says, you are the salt of the earth, but what good is salt if it's lost its flavor? It will be thrown out and trampled underfoot as worthless. So Jesus is telling them that they have to have a notable or distinctive flavor to be effective, and that if they don't, they won't be worth much. And one of the things that is just so cool to me about this idea is that I think he's given every one of us a unique and notable flavor, a notable saltiness, so to speak. We just have to own it and hone it. We have to own it and hone it, figure out how to use it to be most effective, manage it to be balanced. I think about this again in context of food now. Does anyone like bland food? Do you go back for more? I just actually this morning was asked, did I like the gravy that was served with biscuits and gravy? I said, it just needed some salt. It needed salt and pepper. So of course I didn't go back for more. It wasn't a real enjoyable experience. And then the opposite of that, it can be over-seasoned and too salty. I recently made some potatoes at home, some roasted potatoes, and my wife loves her food a little saltier than I do, so I added some salt as they were cooking, and I just went over the top at some point, crossed that threshold. And so we sat down to eat. I take a bite of the potato, and it was offensive. We struggled to eat them. And I think it's that way in how we show up and how we interact with other people. In determining our effectiveness. If we're too salty or too assertive, it can be a bad thing. It can go south. It can be off-putting and offensive. Just the same if we don't have a notable flavor, if we're not saying anything, if we're too soft, then it also then becomes difficult to get results, difficult to engage with people. If we don't have that notable flavor. So your assertiveness, your level of assertiveness and your balance in that is very important in interacting with others and getting the results that you set out to get. So I believe the same ideas about assertiveness are true with your brand and your products also. Brands and products have to have that notable flavor also, that right balance of saltiness to be desirable, to grow and to achieve their optimal effectiveness in the market. If they don't, they become if they don't have that specific notable flavor, something that people want more of, then they become like that gravy that I just spoke about, where you might tolerate it once or twice, but you don't go back for more. So I think about that in context of our brand and in context of our actual products also, the trailers that we build every day. So what emotions do they evoke? That's kind of like the flavor of your brand. What do people feel when they're exposed to your brand or when they're exposed to your product? What do they feel and think? That's the flavor of your brand. Is it notably salty? Does it say something to them? If it doesn't, there's maybe a problem. There's definitely a problem. And then just the same, as that overbearing handshake that cripples you. You can have a product and a brand that's really overbearing, that crosses that line and becomes off-putting because it's so overly assertive. I think about oftentimes, reading a magazine or even trade magazines where we're flipping through, looking at the advertisements, the print advertisements. That's maybe almost a pet peeve of mine is, advertising dollars wasted on print advertisements that don't really say anything. They don't really have a saltiness or an edge to them. And then it's just another picture on a page that no one pays attention to, and it's you flip past it and it's gone for eternity. And then I've also seen products in our industry over the years where people were working to be innovative. I've probably made some of the same mistakes, I'm sure, but working to be innovative and went just really to the far extreme on what the product looked like or how it functioned, so far to an extreme that it was rejected by the market, and it was too assertive of an approach. There was not much finesse or balance in it. So in the way we cultivate, build our brands, and the way we design our products, all those little details matter in determining the assertiveness of our brand and our products, the distinct flavor of our brand and our products, to make sure that they are appealing and attractive and effective for our purpose. So think about these same concepts, these same ideas of assertiveness in regard to your brand and your products. So if this idea of assertiveness is something that you want to work on, I would suggest a few points. Step one, I'm saying, is a gut check. You have to be self-aware and know where you stand today. Remember, we're talking about assertiveness in the context of yourself as a person, of your brand, and of your products. What is the level of assertiveness of those three things today? When I say gut check, that's asking around. You have to gather some feedback. So reach out to some friends, colleagues, coworkers, whoever that you can trust to give you good, honest feedback on this idea of how you show up, what the flavor of your brand is, what do they think about when they see it or experience it and are exposed to it. The same for your product. The same when you walk into a meeting. Or when you greet them and shake their hands, what are their responses to that? Ask some questions and ask for some good, honest feedback, just to make sure you're self-aware. We all have ideas about how we show up. Sometimes they're spot on, and sometimes we're way off base and don't realize some critical missteps. Or I'm going to say even some things that we're doing right. Sometimes we're overly critical of ourselves. So good first step is to do that gut check. Ask for some feedback. Get some good, honest feedback. And then step two, from that feedback, figure out some adjustments that you can make to work towards that balanced level of assertiveness, like that ideal handshake, so to speak, where you're not too soft and you're not too strong and assertive and overbearing either. That can be as simple as working on your handshake, to not be, crippling and overbearing when you shake someone's hand, or that can be as complex as when you, review your brand and you say, our branding is too soft and it doesn't really say anything, or it has no flavor. It could be as difficult or complex as saying we really need to overhaul our brand image and reintroduce it. So what exactly you need to do, step two, what exactly you need to do to work on that assertiveness can mean a lot of different things for everyone. So I'm saying just figure out what are some next steps for you in whatever's most important to you in those different kind of areas of life, so to speak, to achieve that balanced assertiveness, that balanced level of assertiveness that's most effective. And then step three is simply to put those things into action and work on it. Start practicing and experimenting. I don't think it's something that anyone is ever fully mature in. It's a constant constant iteration, working on it, considering how we're performing, getting that feedback, watching others' responses, watching market responses, and working on it, continuing to practice and experiment along the way to optimize is what it's all about. So do the gut check, get self-aware of where you really are and how things are really going as far as your level of assertiveness, your brand, your product, and then figure out your next steps, what you need to do, what adjustments you need to make, and then start practicing and experimenting, work on it. So one thing is for sure, you are an incredible human being that was created with a purpose and a unique voice, with a distinct flavor that only you can bring. If you dig into this idea of owning it and honing it and optimizing your voice and presence through balanced assertiveness, you will be more empowered to impact the world around you in great ways that fuel your growth and success and the growth and success of those around you.
So in closing, we want to challenge you guys to do a gut check, to gather honest feedback on how you show up for your team, how you make people feel whenever you work with them. What's your flavor like, right? So gather all this information and let's put it to work. And like always, guys, if you find value in this content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with anybody that needs to hear this information. And well, until next time.